Do you know what a common name is for dogs? More common than Soot.
Go on.
Rex.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was good. That was good. I'll give you that. And for those of you not watching the video, the grin on his face is disgusting. But
it's always disgusting.
That was a superior link. We should almost just stop the show now and go, you know what, we've peaked. That was excellent. That's almost going to be better than the story that we talk about. Good work. Go on, tell us a story.
So this is something that we've discussed a fair bit, and I've discussed in a fantastic opinion piece in the most recent issue of Australian Aviation magazine. But there's been a new poll put out by the Transport Workers Union. They got YouGov to survey representative sample of 1,044 Australians. And what this poll found was that 71% of people approved of the federal government stepping in to support Rex in maintaining its regional network. More surprisingly, there was 75% agreement that if the Australian government spends taxpayer funds to bail out private companies, it should insist on receiving part share or take ownership of those companies in return for this money.
Which is fair enough.
Which makes sense.
I would argue that if you're going to have some kind of government bailout, then the state, as it were, needs to take a little bit in return. We saw a similar thing with Air New Zealand during COVID. I think the government took, and I might get the exact figure wrong, I think they took up to 50% of Air New Zealand, which obviously they needed the money, which has now had a huge impact on their kind of their future and their plans. But I do agree, if you take over an airline, you should take a share of it. The issue we've got at the moment is, when was it the Rex went into administration now? It was a few months ago, was it?
Yeah, end of July.
End of July. It doesn't look as yet, from the reports we're hearing from a kind of mainstream media, that there is necessarily a buyer lined up. Now, we know there's been a kind of dispersal of some of their assets, but the intriguing thing with this is that most of Rex's flights are, to use the kind of parlance, necessary infrastructure.
Yeah.
These flights have to happen. These communities are utterly reliant on them. If these flights stop, then that is going to be of huge damage to their economy, not just in terms of bringing in tourists, but it's basically being able to take business people from those communities into town in order to do deals. It's absolutely vital. It looks like if we're in this situation in another few months, there will be an even more serious discussion about whether you get some kind of government support, because at the moment it's in administration, it's in this kind of holding cycle, but that presumably can't carry on forever.
No, it can't. I mean, it's sooner or later it has to, exit administration one way or another. It has to liquidate or go into a deed of company arrangement or get sold off or go back into the hands of its directors. And so there needs to be a solution found for Rex, and particularly considering how important Rex is. As Transport Minister Catherine King said back in August. Rex provides essential connectivity to move people and critical freight on 41 routes to regional and remote communities. 21 of these routes are served only by Rex. And so for these locations, Rex is their only air link to the outside world. And they need Rex. Rex providing these services is like, providing a public bus, right? You need those services to connect, because there's no possibly no trains going out that way, for example. But Michael Caine, the National Secretary of the TWU, has said that there is overwhelming public support for the government to intervene. He said, quote, "The public is sick to death of Qantas-style corporate immortality in aviation. They want the government to civilise the sector and end this awful cycle where executives hoover up the cash in the good times and then come with a begging bowl when things get hard. Regional Australia needs Rex, and this poll shows overwhelming support for the federal government to step in and safeguard its future. Not only are hundreds of aviation jobs on the line, but these routes are also critical to regional Australia's business, tourism, healthcare and community services, and the federal government must keep Rex flying."
Well, they will have no choice but to do that in a few months. So we saw during COVID, Michael McCormack, who was then the Transport Minister for the Liberal Coalition, he stepped in and helped provide, it was a variety of kind of supplemented flights under their kind of a regional assistance scheme that basically got Rex through COVID. They didn't necessarily get as much money as Qantas or Virgin, but they were still given that deal to keep going. Michael McCormack has always said he was very proud of doing that deal and very proud of keeping Rex going during COVID. Rex actually named, I believe, one of its 737s after Michael McCormack. But now, criticism that he might have got, now the current Labour administration are going to have to make a similar decision about doing something because, like Jake says, those flights simply cannot stop.